Half a century ago, few people would have thought that those rare soils buried deep in the Earth's crust would one day become a key resource in global strategic games. When the Chinese government announced restrictions on rare earth exports, countries around the world suddenly realized that they could not always rely on China for such vital materials. At one time, many countries took quick action to try to build their own rare earth supply chain and get rid of China's dominance in this field. As a global electronics export powerhouse, South Korea naturally began a series of actions. In June last year, a South Korean company spent $3 billion to build a large rare earth processing plant in Kazakhstan. They wanted to use this plant to break their dependence on China's rare earths and establish a more independent and controllable resource channel for their country's high-tech industries, such as electric vehicles and semiconductors. But reality quickly slapped them in the face. After only 1 year of operation, this factory, which carried strategic hopes, began to have serious problems such as insufficient production capacity, unstable supply chain, and technical bottlenecks. This means that another country's attempt to get rid of China's rare earths has failed. So why did South Korea's rare earth plant, which cost $3 billion, fall into crisis within a year? In the absence of Chinese rare earths, what will South Korea's next move be? If you like our video content, please click to subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you can receive all our latest video content. Now, let's get into today's topic. Among all countries in the world, South Korea is one of the most advanced in the field of science and technology. A number of world-leading technology giants, such as Samsung, LG, and SK Hynix all come from here. LG is a leader in the global home appliance industry. Its smart TVs, refrigerators, washing machines, and other products are sold in more than 160 countries and regions around the world. Among them, LG Energy Solution ranks among the top 3 in the global power battery field and is also an important supplier to automakers such as Tesla and Volkswagen. Of course, let alone Samsung Electronics. Their business spans semiconductors, smartphones, displays, and other fields, and they already have a complete ecological chain industry. According to the information I have investigated, in 2024, Samsung Electronics' annual revenue will be as high as about $230 billion. From here, we can see that whether it is from chips to panels or from smart devices to new energy batteries, South Korea has established a complete and highly specialized electronic manufacturing ecosystem. But we all know that the production of all important electronic products is inseparable from an important condition, that is, rare earths. According to data from 2023, South Korea has about 147,000 tons of rare earth reserves, mainly concentrated in Cheongju, North Chungcheong Province, and Hongcheon, Gangwon Province. The scale of the ore vein is 23 million tons, of which the rare earth content accounts for about 0.1 to 4.7%. The reserves of these rare earths can meet South Korea's needs for 50 years. But even though rare earth resources are abundant, South Korea has no strong development technology for this purpose. Because the core technology of rare earth deep processing lies in purification and separation, and this technology is almost monopolized by China. Coupled with the high cost of mining, South Korea's rare earth refining cost is as high as $7,200 per ton, while China's cost is only $2,334 per ton. Therefore, most of South Korea's rare earths currently need to be imported from other countries. As far as I know, South Korea currently relies on buying rare earth raw materials from China, the United States, Australia, and other countries. Among them, 80% of South Korea's rare earth imports come from China. In 2021, South Korea imported about 20,000 tons of rare earths from China, with a value of more than $500 million. Originally, the two sides could have maintained this good cooperative relationship and continued to provide South Korea with high-quality rare earths. But since South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol came to power, He followed the U.S. policy of suppressing China and imposed restrictions on China's chip sales. In order to counter the sanctions, China issued an export ban on rare earth processing technology at the end of 2023, which completely blocked the path of technological breakthroughs for the United States. Interestingly, this ban is not specifically aimed at South Korea, but because many high-tech companies in South Korea cannot find alternative suppliers of rare earth from China in a short period of time, this has had a great impact on their electronics industry. Faced with the problem of limited rare earth imports, South Korea did not sit idly by and actively sought cooperation with other resource-rich countries. In June 2024, South Korea officially signed a major rare earth development cooperation agreement with Kazakhstan, a major resource-rich country in Central Asia. According to the agreement, South Korea will invest $3 billion to build a modern rare earth processing plant in Kazakhstan. The factory is less than 300 kilometers away from the capital Astana, covers an area of more than 600 acres, and will become one of the most advanced mineral processing facilities in the area after completion. In addition, the two sides also plan to jointly build an international-level chemical analysis laboratory, focusing on the detection, research and development, and technical standard setting of key minerals and metals. If this project is successfully put into production, South Korea's dependence on China's rare earths can be reduced to about 23%. Many people may not be familiar with Kazakhstan. In fact, it is one of the largest landlocked countries in the world, with a land area of 2.7249 million square kilometers, and its mineral resources are very rich. There are more than 90 proven mineral resources buried underground, among which the reserves of rare earth metals are second only to China, accounting for about 15% of the global total. From the 34 key metals that are currently in short supply in the world, Kazakhstan has mastered the refining technology of 19 of them. It is worth mentioning that in April 2025, Kazakh geologists discovered an extremely rare giant rare earth deposit in the Karagandar region. This mine is about 420 kilometers away from the capital Astana and 300 meters deep. The preliminary estimate of rare earth reserves is as high as 20 million tons. It is rich in key elements such as neodymium, cerium, and lanthanum, with an average metal content of 700 grams per ton. This discovery may allow Kazakhstan to directly leap to the world's third largest rare earth reserve country, second only to China and Vietnam. Against this background, South Korea chose to cooperate with Kazakhstan to build a rare earth processing plant, and also took a fancy to Kazakhstan's rare earth resources and refining technology. But surprisingly, this highly anticipated rare earth refining plant has fallen into a serious crisis after only 1 year of operation, and is now almost on the verge of bankruptcy. So what happened? In fact, the biggest problem in the operation of this Korean rare earth factory is that the efficiency of the purification equipment is too low. When processing rare earth ores imported from Mongolia, the yield rate is only 12%, which is equivalent to processing 10 tons of ore. And finally, only more than 1 ton of finished products can be refined, and the remaining 90% is directly wasted. In contrast, Chinese companies use self-developed high-efficiency extraction agents, which not only can stably achieve a yield of 98%, but also can recover more rare metals from waste slag. Moreover, this Korean factory has to rely on Chinese laboratories for even the most basic or composition testing. The back-and-forth process of a test report takes 7 days, which seriously affects the production rhythm of rare earths. In addition to technical problems, unstable power supply has also led to frequent strikes of rare earth equipment. The power grid in some parts of Kazakhstan is old. In the winter of 2024, due to a sudden drop in voltage, centrifuges worth tens of millions of dollars in the Korean factory were directly burned out. To make matters worse, key repair parts can only be airlifted from China, and the cost of a single trip can eat up the factory's half-year profit. In contrast, China's Jiangtong tungsten mine project, which was established in Kazakhstan, built its own substations and transmission lines from the beginning to ensure stable power supply around the clock, and the total cost was nearly 40% lower than that of South Korea. In fact, the main reason for the collapse of the Korean rare earth factory is the electricity cost. According to the information I have investigated, about 82% of Kazakhstan's current electricity comes from coal-fired power plants left over from the Soviet era. Each kilowatt-hour of electricity generated burns 350 grams of coal, which is 120 grams more than similar power plants in China. In addition, the transmission system is seriously aging. For every 100 kilowatt-hours of electricity transmitted, 15 kilowatt-hours are lost in the dilapidated cables. Interestingly, Kazakhstan promised an industrial electricity price of 5 cents per kilowatt-hour, but after adding various taxes and surcharges, the actual electricity price soared to 12 cents per kilowatt-hour, almost twice the price of China's Inner Mongolia Rare Earth Industrial Park. What's more helpless is that this factory is 2,000 kilometers away from the nearest port. The transportation cost of 1 ton of rare earth is close to $500, which basically consumes all the remaining profits. Under the influence of various reasons, this rare earth company, with an investment of $3 billion is now on the verge of bankruptcy after operating for a year. In fact, this is not the first time that South Korea has tried to get rid of China's rare earths. In February 2023, South Korea and Mongolia formally signed a long-term cooperation agreement on rare earths. The two sides plan to export Mongolian rare earths to South Korea through China's Tianjin port. Shortly after the signing of the agreement, Mongolia asked China to lease the use of Tianjin port. However, until now, there has been no follow-up on this port lease plan. If China does not agree to open Tianjin port in the end, Mongolia will have no choice but to choose air transport. But the problem is that South Korea imports more than 3,000 tons of rare earths each year, and the load capacity of an ordinary cargo plane is usually less than 100 tons. In this way, the freight alone may be much higher than the value of the rare earths themselves. Moreover, rare earths are not suitable for air transportation. After all, there has never been a precedent for a country to transport rare earths on a large scale by aircraft worldwide. Of course, South Korea is not without opportunities to import rare earth from China. With the new South Korean president taking office, the relationship between the two sides has shown signs of easing. Beijing has also opened a green channel for rare earth exports for South Korea and approved the purchase applications of many South Korean companies. But at the same time, China has also drawn a clear red line. South Korean companies can continue to purchase Chinese rare earths, but they must strictly abide by the principle of no resale, especially prohibiting resale to the United States and not using them in the U.S. military system. To ensure full implementation, China requires all Korean companies that purchase rare earths to submit a formal, non-resale commitment. More importantly, China's independently developed rare earth traceability chip must be implanted in rare earth products to achieve full-link tracking and monitoring. Once this measure is implemented, it will effectively prevent rare earths from flowing into sensitive areas. Once a breach of contract is discovered, China will immediately cut off supply and initiate the corresponding sanctions mechanism to impose severe penalties on the companies involved. So, do you think it is the right choice for China to reopen its rare earth supply to South Korea? To not miss out on our future projects and news updates, please make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. We will continue to provide you with more exciting and interesting content.